Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at Incredible Hulk number 348. Let's keep rolling along in the Peter David era. We are now in the second issue of the Joe Fixit storyline. A lot of people like to say that Joe Fixit was the Gray Hulk. Really not. We're only going to spend about maybe 12-15 issues of the Hulk being Joe Fixit. But right off the bat, after we establish Joe Fixit, look who we get. A classic Hulk villain, the Absorbing Man. But before I jump into that, I want to give a quick shout out to all the viewer support. I created this channel to entertain and inform and maybe inspire you to read some comics. If you think that's a good message and other comic fans need that in their feed, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, share, subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos. That'll tell the YouTube algorithm to show it to other like-minded friends. Now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the comic. Thoughts on this cover initially are that the Hulk is small. When I look at this, I'm like, that's a little Hulk, or the Absorbing Man is really big. Either way, I don't think it's the great depiction of what's happening with the Hulk right now, other than he's got these striped pants on. They always got to have him with his shirt off. And I wonder how much of that is editorial and how much of that is just that's what the way the artist wanted to draw it. I think if they put him in like a full suit and it was his back, you wouldn't know who it was. So got to take his shirt off to be like, that's the Hulk. I love the Absorbing Man, though, as a character. And this was probably my first exposure to the Absorbing Man. As I've said in other videos, the McFarlane run is when I kind of became a Hulk collector, or not a Hulk collector, a comic collector. So I can't really think of any other time that I probably would have seen the Absorbing Man until this. And when we left off the last issue, it had been established that the Hulk had just been the Hulk. Banner has been pushed into remission, where he had been coming out in the day, but now he's not. So the daytime is making him a little cranky because he's starting to feel Banner just needle in the back of his brain a little bit. Look at all this food they brought the Hulk for breakfast. Like, how many steaks? 7 steaks, some cereal, like a whole bunch of bananas, which is, in that McFarlane part, almost every issue the Hulk was talking about how hungry he was. And now he's like, I don't want any breakfast. Let's go through our team again. Of course, Peter David. Jeff Purves is the penciler. Mike and Val Gustovich are both just credited as the inkers in this one. Before it was like inker and inker assist. The last video I got a little pushback on Jeff Purves and how people didn't love him. And like I said in that video too, I don't think I loved him at first either, just because he was such a stark contrast to McFarlane. But as I've gone back to this run more than once, I've really taken to what Purves was trying to do, and I think he develops more as an artist as the run goes along. So if you didn't like it back in the day, stick around at least for the videos, give it a second look, see if I can convince you that Jeff Purves was a pretty good artist. He just had a hard act to follow. It's panels like this that I think stand out for Purves. He makes him look like a monster. I mean, he's a little sunken in, maybe. But he's probably tired and weakened from the sun. He even mentions how he feels weakened by the sun right here. And a lot of this inner dialogue is recapping kind of what I just said about the previous issue. Same for this. We have the Absorbing Man meeting up with this other kind of mob boss who's wanting to move into Las Vegas, and he got smacked down by Joe Fixit and Mike Berenghetti in the previous issue. So he's brought in the Absorbing Man as a hired gun to teach them a lesson. And it's funny, there's a lot of like thinking about double crossing here. I can always negotiate a cheaper deal later. Don't even get any ideas about cheating me. And then you get a recap of what's been happening with Absorbing Man. So this was good. Like I said, this was probably my first introduction to the Absorbing Man. Right away, we get him using his power to see what he can do. And then we get like what he's been up to. He was trapped in some like interdimensional zone. He mentions a fight with Thor, not on this. He mentions it on this page, but it gives us, I think on the next page, what issue that happened in. So he was trapped in this interdimensional place where time was not constant. And he said, one day I lost my lunch, literally. Like he was cooking up some kind of animal and all of a sudden it grew back all of its flesh and stuff and ran away. So that's when he realized how he could get out of this. He essentially just had to wait until this vortex came of when he was deposited there and he could ride it back the other way. He absorbed the vortex back. And he's like, I was coming as I was going. And when he arrived, all he could think about was Titania, who was his girlfriend, and he believes her to be killed. And here it even says, it happened in Thor number 376. I should try to find that issue and check it out sometime. Baron Getty comes to visit the Hulk, and this is where you get him some more background on how they hooked up together. He said he found him out in the desert, offered him a job, and said, all you got to do is beat some people up sometimes. And he's like, and the Hulk says, you kept your word about everything. The only guy I ever met who gave me a good life and didn't betray me. Yet. Great size proportion here of the Hulk. He's looking huge. Right there. Baron Getty basically says, oh, and they mention here too why he calls him Joe. Why do you keep calling me Joe? And he says, you remind me of the Mighty Joe, one of my favorite big gorillas. So that's where the name Joe comes from, for Joe Fixit. And I think Fixit was after a boxer, he said at some point. So Baron Getty says, if I can't help you, then nobody can. Talk to me when you're ready. And as he goes, the Scold guy gives him one last chance to, help him out, help him move into Vegas. And then he sends the Absorbing Man in to his casino. Little background on Marlo. Doesn't really say much about her, but her roommate is wanting details about her date with Mr. Fixit. She's being kind of coy about it. Mentions that she's like real tall and statuesque, that she's over 6 feet tall, and feels like men are always intimidated by her. And that's one reason I guess she really liked the Hulk, is because he was so big and not intimidated by her. I think that's all we get of Marlo for this issue. Then the Absorbing Man comes in and just starts wrecking the place. I like this panel in particular right here. I think this is something unique that I've not really seen done a lot. Not only does he do a little sideways panel showing the Absorbing Man touching some stone to absorb it, he puts a drop shadow on the panel, so it kind of steps up. I don't know who's responsible for this lettering, but I love the way it bends around like that too. I mean, I love Absorbing Man on the Wrecking Ball. I just think that's just such a great weapon, and he turns into like whatever he touches. He's just fun. He's a fun villain to come in and fight with the Hulk or Thor or, a bruiser like that of some sort. Then they shoot him and he absorbs the lead and becomes lead. So beep, beep. The Hulk's like, what? Baron Getty was just here. It must be something close. I better head down. I like these little tiny panels here of the Hulk's face as he gets ready to go down there. He's also contemplating, it's daytime. I'm feeling Banner tickling the back of my brain. If I turn into Banner, I'm dead. But he's got a job to do. Another great use of panel breaking right here. Look at this. Look at the little crack right there. I mean, this is fun stuff. This is the stuff I think Jeff Purves does that's a little different than a lot of artists, where he lacks on like the noodling and line marks of the artist of this time period. He makes up for in doing little stuff like this. Nice use of shadow on that. Fix It all dressed up. He's not really giving Absorbing Man a chance to get a good look at him. Great lettering there too. I love that uppercut. Him flying up. Sunglasses look funny on his face. Throws him out of the building. Then the Hulk says, I need to get him out of here. And he takes off. Another great use of lettering. And he immediately is like, I only know one monster that leaps like that. If I'd known who it was, I would have absorbed his skin. And these guys start to gang up on him here. I think these are great panels. The use of panels here too. You see like Absorbing Man's face. No fear. Like, come on, just come on, get it over with. I got to catch up to the Hulk. So he takes off too. I didn't know he could jump like that. What did he do? I think he absorbs all the strength of all these guys by touching them. And they head to the Hoover Dam, of all places. That's where you want the Hulk and the Absorbing Man having a big fight, is on the Hoover Dam, holding back all that water. I don't know if that was the smartest move, Hulk. But the Hulk gets there. I love his purple trench coat, covering himself up in the sun, because the sun hurts him, and he even admits, like, to himself, I've got to stay over here in the shade. I think that's kind of why he came to the Hoover Dam. Look at that. Another great use of the lettering in this is great. And I don't know if that's Joe Rosen or if that's credited to Purves in this case. Crash with a Q. And they just have a throwdown. And it's fun. Everything about it is fun. Finally, he uses his wrecking ball to get the Hulk off balance, and he's going to absorb his skin this time. But as soon as he absorbs the skin and he starts like growing like the Hulk, he realizes something isn't right, and he screams. And the Hulk says, of course, the sun's weakening him, burning him like it was me, but he's not covered up like he is in his clothes. Now he's in agony and doesn't know why. Let's see if I can make him feel worse. So he just gets him in the air and starts pounding on him, takes him down into the water, or maybe the electric generators, where he absorbs some electricity. Kind of chaotic happening here. We got Marlo calling. Oh, he's out? Look at her there. She's more dressed up there than she was when she went on her date with him in the last issue. I love these panels too. Great layout right here of the Hulk, Absorbing Man's face. It's got a good flow to it. So he hits the water and it shocks him back. Jerk. And now he can't move from doing that. So he's going to absorb the concrete. And I think he does it accidentally, maybe? No, he says, here he comes. Absorb the concrete from the wharf. Got to pull myself together. But turning into concrete against the Hulk, probably not the smartest thing. Look at that. It's pounding on his head, just cracking it. And then he just continues to knock pieces off of him and leaves him for dead. And that's how our issue ends. And the next issue actually is a crossover with Web of Spider-Man. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do those in 2 videos or 1 video. It might just be 1 because I don't love that Web of Spider-Man issue. But anyway, that's the end of this. So that was a fun Absorbing Man issue. I think this was a good way to continue this Joe Fixit era, because the last issue we just got a little bit of the Hulk and a little bit of, it was more about establishing his place in Las Vegas, what he was doing there. And this one we get kind of our monster of the week. And that's something I think that Peter David did great from about that Wolverine issue with McFarlane up until the end of the Ground Zero story, is giving the Hulk something to do every issue. And the last issue, we didn't get a lot of that, so he's making up for it in this one with Absorbing Man. And Absorbing Man is a fun villain for the Hulk. Nothing too interesting to point out in the letters column this week, so not going to spend a lot of time on that. So that's it for this one. Joe Fixit era, second part in the books. Until next time, read your comics.